Most people don't realize just how quickly your sense of normal can shift. The real story behind moving to Europe isn't about postcards or bucket lists. It's a steady series of smaller discoveries that change almost everything you thought you knew. Did you know that in many European cities, you can walk home from a late dinner on a quiet, well-lit street without thinking twice? Meanwhile, many Americans are used to the opposite. Picture a long lunch in a Paris cafe, where nobody's rushing to get back to the office compared to hurrying through a sandwich at your desk in Chicago. Once you see these differences, you can't unsee them. In this video, we'll break down 9 key ways Americans change after a year of living in Europe. Each point is grounded in what people notice every day, not just tourist snapshots, but the realities of daily life. But before we continue, make sure to subscribe. Number 9. Work isn't the center of everything. Americans are used to organizing life around the demands of their jobs. In the US, it's normal to start meetings before sunrise, answer emails at night, and skip vacations just to keep up. In much of Europe, priorities look different. Office buildings start emptying by 5 or 6 in the evening. In Germany and France, laws require at least 4 to 6 weeks of paid vacation annually. It's not just about time off. The culture expects employees to fully disconnect instead of sneaking work calls on the beach. Lunch breaks often stretch to a full hour or longer. Employees gather at a nearby restaurant or sit under a tree in a city park, focusing on the moment. You don't see people eating in their cars or at the copier. For Americans, this can feel unfamiliar at first, like suddenly having permission to slow down and breathe. The focus turns to quality of life, afternoons with family, hobbies, even the simple quiet of doing nothing at all. What seemed like laziness from afar now becomes a different kind of discipline, protecting personal time as if it's as valuable as work. Most Americans are surprised to see that life keeps moving, but with a calmer pace and fewer regrets. Number 8. Safety isn't left to chance. The sense of safety is more than a statistic. It's a daily reality. In the US, parents often watch their kids play from a distance or worry about walking home after dark. Gun violence and high crime rates shape routines and decisions in many places. Most European cities approach security differently. It's common to see children walking to school together, unsupervised. Even in the early evening, neighborhoods buzz with energy after dusk, not tension. Violent crime, especially gun-related, is simply less frequent. For example, in the UK, gun homicide rates are more than 25 times lower than in the US, according to OECD data. Pickpocketing happens, especially in crowded tourist streets, but the fear of physical danger stays low. Americans often realize after a few months that their heightened vigilance isn't necessary. The contrast feels like a weight lifting off their shoulders. Some start to question why feeling safe in public spaces is such a luxury at home. You might stand in a lively town square at midnight, surrounded by families chatting, and wonder, how did we reach such different expectations for public safety? It's not the answer, but it reframes the question of what society prioritizes. Number 7. Healthcare doesn't mean bankruptcy. Americans know the anxiety of medical bills all too well. Even simple procedures like a checkup or blood test can cost hundreds of dollars, and emergency visits can add up to thousands, even with insurance. In most European countries, care is accessible for all. National health services in the UK, France, and Sweden provide doctor visits for little or no out-of-pocket cost. A routine checkup in France might cost under $30, and prescription medicine is heavily subsidized. An inhaler that runs $50 cash in the US might be $8 in Germany. Nobody avoids the doctor from fear of cost. Even for emergencies, a hospital stay in Spain or the Netherlands rarely brings surprise bills. Americans often describe their first year as a revelation. Not only is healthcare less expensive, doctors frequently take more time to explain options or answer questions. Care feels both personal and a public good. Over time, this changes how people view illness and prevention. When cost isn't always looming, more people pursue regular screenings or manage chronic conditions early. Most Americans wonder why accessible healthcare remains so complicated in the US, and what can be done to change the picture. Number 6. Food feels more like food. The difference hits as soon as you step into a bakery or a neighborhood market. Bread stays fresh for only a day or two because it's made without preservatives. Vegetables are vibrant and picked by season, tomatoes in late summer, greens in spring. Farmers' markets bustle with families, and even supermarket aisles carry fewer products with long ingredient lists. Chemicals and GMOs banned in much of Europe are still allowed in the US. In Portugal, a lunch of grilled sardines costs under €6. In Italy, a wedge of Parmigiano Reggiano comes from a known region, not a factory. Dining out is an event, not a transaction. Meals are slower, and conversation stretches longer. Americans often arrive expecting restaurant food to taste similar, then end up marveling at how unprocessed and flavorful it is, even at lower prices. In the US, organic produce can cost 50 to 100% more than conventional. Here, the gap is much smaller. Over time, cravings for American packaged snacks shift. Some foods even start to taste artificial by comparison. The act of eating, whether alone or with others, turns back into a daily pleasure, not just fuel. This overlooked detail reframes the entire issue. Eating well isn't a luxury for the few, but a quiet expectation for everyone. Number 5. Public transport isn't an afterthought. In most of the US, life depends on a personal car. Suburban sprawl, few buses, and long distances make driving the rule. Europe flips this on its head. Metro trains in Berlin, trams in Prague, or buses in Madrid run on tight schedules, connecting neighborhoods without hassle. You can live in Amsterdam or Copenhagen for years without owning a car at all. Monthly transit passes often cost less than a single car insurance payment in the States. For example, a rail ticket from Paris to Lyon, about 290 miles, is usually under $50 and takes just 2 hours by high-speed train. Stations are clean, busy, and safe. In Vienna, an annual subway pass is around $365, roughly $1 a day. Americans used to long commutes or parking headaches find a new kind of freedom. No car payments, no gas stations, and far less stress. This shift isn't just logistical, it alters how people plan work, leisure, and even social life. A walk across town or a bike ride to dinner becomes normal. For many, the realization dawns that the US could work differently if it decided to. Number 4. Language is a door, not a barrier. Americans grow up surrounded by English. In much of Europe, switching languages is daily practice. It's common to meet young adults fluent in 3, even 4 languages: German, English, Italian, French, or Spanish. Public announcements and menus switch seamlessly between tongues. In education, children begin learning new languages as early as age 6 or 7. The result: by adulthood, many Europeans can converse, study, or work across borders. In contrast, U.S. schools often offer a single language option, starting later and with less immersion. The real impact isn't just vocabulary. Multilingual Europeans can follow news from other countries, understand culture directly, and empathize with different perspectives. Americans confronted with this often feel challenged but also inspired. Some choose to learn the local language, if only to show respect. Over time, attitudes change. What seemed intimidating now feels like a mark of global citizenship. It's not just about words, but about being open to the world around you. Number 3. Education isn't an expensive gamble. A college degree in the US can leave students with tens of thousands of dollars in debt. Private tuition routinely tops $3,000 per year. In countries like Germany or Norway, universities charge little or no tuition, even for international students who meet the academic criteria. In France, annual fees rarely exceed $500. This changes everything. Young people choose courses for genuine interest, not only for potential earnings. Vocational training is valued, not stigmatized, offering access to stable employment. Primary and secondary schools emphasize arts, languages, and critical thinking, not just exams. Classrooms fill with music, debate, and field trips. For parents accustomed to expensive after-school programs, this wider range feels almost revolutionary. Americans often reflect on how the fear of lifelong debt shapes priorities back home and why other nations structure education differently. This doesn't mean every European system is perfect, but it shows an alternative many hadn't considered before. Number 2. Community feels tangible. In post-war American suburbs, neighbors might wave from the driveway before retreating indoors. In many European towns, life spills into public space. Morning routines include shopping at a corner bakery or chatting at a small cafe. Evenings draw people into square plazas, where live music drifts on the air and older residents play chess under the trees. Parks and pedestrian-only zones invite lingering conversations and impromptu games of soccer. Car traffic is often diverted to make way for walkers and cyclists. Markets fill with vendors and regular customers greeting each other by name. Americans used to long drives and private yards notice more spontaneous interactions. People pause to ask about your day or share local news. At first, the visibility and togetherness can feel unfamiliar, maybe even intrusive. But over time, most grow to enjoy the sense of belonging. The shift isn't just physical, it's a mindset, valuing connection over convenience and community over individual solitude. Number 1. Every return involves a double shift, gratitude, and culture shock. After a year in Europe, Americans often feel both thankful for home and startled by the familiar. The entrepreneurial drive in the U.S., the readiness to start a business, take a risk, or try something new, remains admired. It explains much of America's dynamism, but stepping back into certain routines can provoke culture shock. Restaurant portions look oversized. Shopping centers stretch for city blocks. Consumer advertising feels constant. Tipping after every meal with tableside pressure suddenly seems odd when you've gotten used to service charges built into the price. Most people don't realize it, but living abroad uncovers a contradiction. Americans miss some freedoms and opportunities unique to U.S. culture, yet also wish some European habits like affordable healthcare, safe neighborhoods, or free college could be brought home. The real lesson isn't one of superiority, but of perspective. Americans often leave changed with sharper eyes for what works and what needs fixing. This confirms what some already suspected. Sometimes you don't see what you're missing until you've lived without it. Drop your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more content like this.